It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here and this is episode number 223 of our podcast where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
More chickens. We drink a ton of coffee. I'm talking a ton. But most importantly,
we hug chickens every day.
And we kiss them too. Don't forget. We brew coffee from a little coffee roaster in Houston, Texas. Bright and early coffee. Holly Ann, what kind of coffee are we brewing today?
Oh, Texas cinnamon.
Because it's delicious, that Texas cinnamon. If you're not drinking it, you are missing out. We have a code. It's CWTCL 15 if you want to try it. It's 15% off a bagged coffee. And if you use K-Cups, go on over to Amazon. Where should everybody else go?
brightandEarlyCoffee.com, y'all.
And follow them on social media. Are you ready to sip some of this delicious Texas cinnamon coffee and chat?
I am. But first, a word from our sponsor.
We have some exciting news to share from our sponsor, Grubbly Farms. They're here, new and improved, Grubbly's World Harvest.
I'm a longtime subscriber, and my flock love the healthy, nutritious treats, plus orders $40 and more ship free.
If you haven't heard, Grubbly's has a fantastic layer pellet and crumble feed. It's packed with plant and insect protein, perfect for those picky chickens and ducks.
Grubbly Farms makes food and treats for healthy pets and planet.
To support us and Grubbly Farms, use the link grubbly.co/coffee. Try it today.
Hey all, guess what? Naturewise Harvest Blend has the complete layer feed that's as irresistible as scratch. Tasty sunflower seeds, dried winter peas, and cracked corn are mixed together with all the nutrients your birds need. Learn more at NutrenaWorld.com.
Great day today.
It's gorgeous weather, yeah. I want to be out in the garden right now with the geese.
So I spent some time outside this morning with little man, his morning snuggle. He was loving it. The sun was on his face. He was so happy.
That sounds great.
For him, yeah.
For him. Did you take a nap with him?
I wish. No, I would not do that. But I had Peggy out there free ranging when I was holding him.
Uh-huh.
So every time he would do his little, she would look up to the sky like, okay, what's around?
That's so cute. When something flies overhead, the geese turn their whole head sideways to look up at it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like, he's always the alert. Now, the worst thing ever was he was laying his head on my shoulder. Joe and I were sitting out there, and he saw something and crowed directly while laying his head on my shoulder.
Oh, no.
I thought I was deaf in the right ear.
That is loud. Yeah.
It's like directly in my ear. And then Joe jumped up. He's like, oh my God, what is that? And I was like, huh? I can't hear you.
I'm not surprised that's some ear trauma. Remember, chickens can regrow their eardrums. We cannot.
No.
You rupture your ear over there with his big crow.
Yeah, his little... The other day he was calling me. I was outside I have another announcement. I'm kind of hogging up our introduction. Sorry.
Yeah, you're hogging it up, man.
He was calling me and his crow was like...
What was wrong with him?
He just wanted to come out. And he was like trying to sound pitiful. But my other announcement is we have a little puppy named Rocky.
Yes.
Because Sweetie was so depressed and needed a companion so badly. So Rocky is his name, named by Joe. And he's a Ruby Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. And he is so cute.
He's really adorable. He's a beautiful little dog.
He's so smart too. But he was being rambunctious this morning. I was like, Rocky, no! Rocky, no! Rocky, no!
I haven't had a puppy in a long time. Puppies are pretty high maintenance for a while.
I think it's been like 15 years since we've had a puppy, or 13 years, something like that. So,
well, that's wonderful. A welcome addition to the crew.
You had an adventure the other day when Armani got out. We were on the phone.
Oh, that little bugger. Fortunately, I mean, because, there's a lot of wooded space around here that he could run off into. And he's not a very big rooster. He's a little leghorn. So luckily, his machismo won out. And he ran straight over to the Australorp boys, the two rescue boys, and stood outside of their coop and crowed at them. And they crowed back at him.
I heard it all.
And it was hilarious because the Australorps are big, but of the two, Hideo is a really big roux. I mean,
He is.
twice as big as Armani, and Armani's like squaring up like, yeah, no. I nabbed him. Tossed him back in.
I stayed on the phone because I wanted to.
I know you were like, this is my entertainment. I can't let you go yet.
You're like, I got to see how this turns out. With all due respect, though, you've been on the phone with me when I've had to run to chase Peggy into the evergreen trees.
Oh, yeah.
It's bad when they get loose like that. It's bad.
It's not good, but I got him pretty quickly, so it wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't an hour in. But on that note, if you're listening to our show and you're loving it, head on over to Apple Podcast and leave us a written review. It does amazing things for the growth of our show. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button because you never want to miss the fun. And they count them.
If you're looking for other ways to help support the podcast, you can tell a few chicken, duck, and goose loving friends about us, and turkey. You can share your favorite episodes on social media. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/coffeewiththechickenladies. Thank you to our patrons. You make this show possible. The other thing you can do to help support the show is visit our website and our show notes, use our affiliate links and discount codes, and buy products from our sponsors.
Yay!
So, winter is coming.
It's better when Sean Bean says it.
Can you stay on topic for just a minute?
What topic?
Winter. Well, chickens, obviously, and igloo coops from Omelette.
Oh, yeah. You got to have an igloo for winter.
If you don't know igloos, they're engineered for extremes, double insulated, waterproof, and stormproof.
They keep out any weather and all predators.
And you can just wipe them clean.
My girls and little man are so comfy in their Igloo Pro.
Mine too. Warm and dry all year round.
Winter is coming.
Be ready with an igloo.
Search Omelette. That's OMLET.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you like monthly subscriptions?
Does it have anything to do with chickens?
Of course.
Then yeah. Let us take a minute to tell you about Chicken Love.
You get a monthly Chicken Lady tea, treats for your flock, and a keeper care card.
And did you know with every multi-month subscription, you get a free Chicken Love logo t-shirt?
Really?
Yeah.
It's $36 a month with free shipping.
What are you waiting for? Get off the nest and click already. That's chickenlove.com. That's chickenluv.com. Get your subscription today.
The Breed Spotlight is brought to you by Murray McMurray Hatchery, defining quality for generations. For over a century, Murray McMurray Hatchery has remained a trusted family-owned business, working tirelessly to ensure our poultry meet the highest standards. Whether you are an experienced enthusiast or just embarking on the journey, look to McMurray Hatchery for guaranteed quality, rare and heritage breeds, low minimums, and all the supplies you need to raise your flock. Request a free catalog today. La dum da 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 dum da 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 da. It's time for the Breed Spotlight. Yes, it is the Breed Spotlight. Yeah. Is that a marching band like fife and drum? Because this is an early American breed.
So this is the
Dorking.
Yes.
It's the Dorking. Now, the Dorking really has shot up into one of my favorite breeds. I really, really like them.
Because they are in your flock.
Right. I have two silver gray Dorkings. Prue Leaf. So if you're a fan of the Great British Bake Off, you recognize that name. And Nigella Lawson.
Yes.
They're beautiful birds. They're really gorgeous birds. Beautiful, beautiful feathers. They have these large but long combs on them.
Uh-huh.
And then their legs they're not like creeper gene legs, but their legs are shorter.
I love myself some short legs.
They're very unique looking and they're absolutely beautiful. I love them. They're not like super aggressive, but they also don't take crap. So they're right in the middle of the pecking order.
And not to mention, they are a foundation breed for a lot of different birds.
A lot of different birds. And they lay well, but we'll get to that. So the Dorking is truly an ancient breed of chicken, probably one of the oldest in existence. They were most likely present in ancient Rome or something very close to them. And they were likely brought across Europe to Britain along with the Romans.
My peeps. Yes, they brought
your
them.
Peeps invading my peeps.
The story of all stories.
That's how it all began.
Bring me my maple syrup and bring it now.
That's 2 ounces gone from your bottle.
Well, that's okay because my bottle will be 150 ounces. Don't worry.
You are overestimating my ability to make maple syrup, but we'll see how that goes. Okay. They are a dual purpose breed and they have like a ton of wonderful traits. There's so much good stuff about them. It is very, very likely that Dorkings would have been present in colonial America. Now, one of their most visible and unusual traits is their 5th toe, and they come in some very pretty color varieties.
They do, and they would have been in colonial Williamsburg because they were there when we visited Williamsburg.
This is a historically important breed, and they're currently found in the threatened category of the Livestock Conservancy's conservation priority list. They should not be threatened. They should definitely be at least in the watch category. They're wonderful, wonderful birds. Now, historians have mapped out, when I say historians, I mean like the Lewis Wrights of the world, older poultry historians.
Right.
They've pretty much mapped out the Dorking's probable origins. So like we said, it's a pretty safe assumption that they arrived in the UK with the Romans in 43 AD.
Thank you to the Romans.
They do match descriptions of 5-toed chickens that were in Italy during the 1st century as well. But where they came from before that is pretty much a mystery. But there was trading throughout the entire Mediterranean region. I mean, things were going back and forth, including birds, amongst the Italians, the Middle East, etc. There were definitely trade routes open to move chickens to different regions. Now, the Livestock Conservancy mentions the Ardennes chicken, which is a very, very old Belgian breed that also has a 5th toe. And some people mention them as a contender for a Dorking relative. I tend to think they wouldn't be a foundation breed for the Dorking, but they might be a cousin. They might be the Dorking.
A cousin on your mother's side? A cousin on your mother's side?
Cousin on your mother's side, at least. Now, and we've talked about this before, and this always interests me. There's some written evidence, very early written evidence, that suggests that prior to the Roman invasions, Britons, we know they had chickens, but they did not eat their chickens.
Okay.
And they were most likely kept as religious beings, as layers, and or as pets and companions. Very similar to the way you and I keep our own chickens, right?
Exactly. Just for the eggs, man. And for lots of love.
But when those Romans showed up, they brought those Dorkings and said, look, these are dual purpose, 5-toed birds. And they left the Britons with a taste for chicken.
That's those 5-toe cousins, I'm telling you.
It's fascinating to me that before that, they did not eat them.
Yeah, basically they use them for their eggs because the eggs in themselves are full of protein and can be a staple in your diet for that. So, and they were highly the Romans, they came over and they're like, hey, this has another use.
Chicken cacciatore.
Shoot.
But the thing with the Britons, though, is that the birds were buried with some reverence, and that's not done for what is considered a quote-unquote food animal generally. So clearly, these birds had a pretty high status with the ancient British people.
Yeah.
We do know that the name Dorking comes from their time in the UK. Dorking is a town in Surrey, in the south of England. Now, the Dorking, as we know them today, was developed in this area. Lewis Wright notes that at one point early on, the Dorking cockerels were known to have double spurs, which is interesting.
Oh, God, Ormani would really be getting you with those double spurs.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that. But the double spur was largely bred out of them by the early 20th century.
Thank God.
Right? He also mentions the red Dorking. The red Dorking, those are what we saw at Williamsburg. They're beautiful.
Yep.
Because the red color is one of the oldest varieties, and because they were rarely found outside of their home in southern England. That was sort of like a lot of people in that region kept that red Dorking, and it didn't go really farther afield for a long time.
I'm going to have to put some of the pictures because, I never get rid of any of my pictures I ever take from when we went to Williamsburg of the red Dorkings they had there because we got some really good pictures.
They were very friendly. They were beautiful and friendly. I really liked them.
They were. The girls really loved them too.
Mm-hmm. Now, Lewis Wright also theorizes that the white Dorking may be the oldest and purest representative of the breed. That's very possible. So I checked through a lot of early writings, and I mean a lot. And I could not find exactly when the Dorking showed up in America, but it was probably very early on. They were, of course, in the first printing of the American Poultry Association Standard of Perfection in 1974 in the English class. The white rose-comb Dorking, the silver gray Dorking, and the colored Dorking, which is like a partridgey color pattern, they were all the original varieties. Now, in 1995, that red Dorking was added, And then in 1998, a cuckoo Dorking was added with both single and rose combs.
Nice. That sounds nice.
Yeah, this is a bird like the Dominique. People of all socioeconomic classes would have been keeping Dorkings because of their incredible usefulness. So it wouldn't have been unusual to find Dorkings being kept in the chicken coop of an upper-class family, but it also would not have been unusual to find them scratching around the cabins of enslaved people.
Exactly.
Now, remember that original poultry show in 1850, that first one that was held in Boston?
Uh-huh.
There were a lot of Dorkings in that show.
Yeah, I mean, it's an old breed bird. Of course they're going to be there. I mean, they were in Williamsburg. They're in colonial days. They were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people thought they were beautiful and they loved them. Now, they are a dual purpose and a standard size chicken. So those roosters are going to come in weighing around 9 pounds. The hens around 7 pounds. And they look smaller than they are. And the round chickens kind of lower to the ground. Some people call them plump.
I call them plump.
I don't know if I want to use that word because it sounds more like eating.
Oh, you're right. It does, like plump and succulent. No, they're plump and luscious to hug. That's what I mean.
I don't know. So they are very huggable looking because of that short roundness to them. They remind me of a shorter like Orpington, basically, because the Orpingtons are wide bodied, but the Orpingtons aren't as low to the ground as the Dorkings.
No, the Orpingtons, they look low to the ground because of the feathering that covers a lot of their legs.
Right.
And the Dorkings do have some of that because they do have very loose and soft feathering.
Right. But the Orpingtons do have pretty like longer legs. It's
yes,
just,
they do.
So both the roos and the hens have surprisingly large straight combs, while a couple, like Holly Ann was talking about earlier, of the other varieties have the rose comb. And like we were saying, they have short legs, and I like short legs, so that's good because I got short legs. So not like the Scots Dumpy, which we've done a breed spotlight on that bird, and that was kind of fun. But
yeah,
we even said the Scots Dumpy should not be a basketball player because they're so short.
That's that creeper gene again. So genetically short legs. Yeah.
Right. And the Dorking does not have the creeper gene. And every time we say creeper gene, I think like somebody's creeping around my window or something. Like they're a creeper. They're going like around, like slowly looking in. They're peering in the window because they're a creeper.
Right.
So they're just pretty low to the ground. Now they have white legs and red earlobes, and they do lay cream to white eggs. So they go against that general rule of red earlobes, brown eggs, white earlobes, white eggs. So sometimes there is a little bit difference in there. So they also come in a wide variety of colors, like the silver gray probably being the most popular of the colors.
Yeah, the silver gray is one of the easiest to get your hands on, and they are just beautiful birds. Such pretty coloring.
Now, the Dorking hens are pretty good layers of medium to large, like I said, cream, chalky white eggs, about 180 to 200 per year. They will go broody and make good mother hens.
Yeah.
So, put them in the broody category.
So right now, my girls are laying up a storm, but they're a year old. Okay. So I'm sure as time goes on, they're going to settle into that 180 to 200 per year mark.
I feel like the first year, all chickens kind of feel their wild oats and they lay a lot of eggs.
They lay a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
And where it starts to test those numbers is within the second to fourth year, basically. Right. You kind of see where it evens out. And usually, it's around 3 eggs a week is a pretty good average for some chickens. That's the average. Now, if you go above or below, good or bad layers, there you go. But all eggs we welcome, especially in this day of age with the egg shortage going on. I'm pretty good right now. I'm pretty flush, so I'm feeling good.
Oh, we're very flush. And I supply, like I've said before, all of my sisters and my mom. And so I was apologizing the other day. I said, I'm sorry. I know you guys really like the colorful egg cartons, but I have 6 white egg layers right now. And the Dorkings and the young Leghorns are just putting out white egg after white egg after white egg. And they were like, we don't care what color it is. We just care what it tastes like. So
exactly. I have a lot. I feel like I started off, and I think between us, it was just Lucy at one point. That was the white egg layer. And now we got so many, like I have the Andalusians, I have the Houdans, I have the Polish. Everybody's laying white eggs. It's a thing to do.
First white egg layers were the Fayumis.
Right.
And then the Andalusians. And yeah, now I've got a bunch of Mediterranean in there. But yeah, matters what they taste. Now, these Dorkings, this is a breed that is good at a lot of things. And I believe they have something for everyone.
What do they have for you? What do they have for you?
For me, I like the laying, I like their personalities, and I like their beauty. I really enjoy watching them. I think they're really pretty.
I think that makes a difference when you enjoy watching them and seeing them. And with personality and beauty, it does play a role. I mean, I think every single chicken's beautiful, but it's like some of them, they just have a way about them.
Right. You know, I like the historic breeds, and this is definitely a very historic breed. I feel like a lot of our... Can you hear River? Okay, I'm going to apologize right now because my dog is outside barking at the sheep. My sheepdog is barking at the sheep. And the husband is outside working on the chicken coop. So, yeah. So sorry, dog barking. But because they are a historic breed and they're just... I feel like so many of our modern breeds don't have some of the quirky differences that these guys do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that to sound creepy. Like, I really like watching these pretty girls.
Like the creeper gene.
That's a different kind of creeper gene. But I think that they're gentle enough to be a good beginner's bird. But I think experienced chicken keepers will love them too for a bunch of reasons.
Exactly. For sure.
They are the ultimate heritage breed. They are historically important. They're excellent homestead birds. They're excellent foragers. That's another reason I like watching them.
Right.
Because it really is like fun watching them to exploring, hunting bugs. They are good show chickens. So should you be into showing, this is a really nice breed to show. They're good family birds. If you have little kids, they're definitely gentle enough for little ones.
Exactly.
Beautiful additions to a mixed flock. And let's get real. These birds are fancy enough for a really fancy chicken lady or gent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the heritage breeds. If you want to be a fancy chicken lady or gent, you need the heritage breeds because they bring the fancy into your flock.
Right.
You know, they have the things that are odd and different and just make them unique. And the Dorking is no different, than having the fifth toe and all the other, the red color and all those good things. Now, so they do pretty well, both in the heat and the cold, but they got big combs and big bodies. Okay. So you're going to protect those combs against frostbite and with heaters, and you're going to protect the big bodies with fans in the summer. So they're kind of that bird that's good and bad. They do okay in both, but you have to have provisions set in for both.
Right. It's very true. One of the girls, I think it was Nigella, just the very, very top tip of one of the points on her comb got a little frostbite. It was during the day.
Yeah. And you have heaters. I mean, it can still happen. So when they come out to eat and drink, you can't force them to stay in that coop 100% of the time. So, it's crazy how quickly it can happen too with wind and everything else. It can definitely happen.
These girls are good scratchers. So, like, if you're using them to create organic matter to put in your garden, like for permaculture or regenerative ag, they're really good at turning things over. Yeah. That's another thing I really like about them.
It's so funny because the two big runs, I could tell such a difference in the runs, because my little run, which is still big enough, they're turning the dirt over. Yeah. So, as soon as it unfroze, they're turning the dirt over. Yep. Now, the girls in the super big run,
Not so much.
It's still like where it was. And I'm like, why aren't this soil is not frozen. Turn this over and make it softer. But it's so funny to see the two differences in different chickens and how they dig.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting.
And Lucy's a big part of that digging aspect over in
the
that
Mediterraneans never stop digging. I mean, they're really good at it.
Oh, yeah. They love it. Now, here's the question. Everybody's like, where can I get a Dorking besides a really good university?
Oh, my God. That's terrible. That deserves a boo. That was so bad.
Get a mom joke in there.
Oh, my God. You can get the beautiful silver gray Dorkings. That's what I have. You can get them from Murray McMurray Hatchery. Now, Glenn Drowns at Sandhill Preservation sells a Dorking color assortment. These are straight run because, it's Sandhill Preservation, and a few other commercial hatcheries carry them. The colors that you can get at Sandhill, if you're looking for different colors, there's some beauties over there.
You just have to make sure you're good and you have a rooster plan, and you have to really want a rooster because this bird needs to be preserved.
I mean, I will say that the rooster Williamsburg. He's the only Dorking rooster I've ever met, but he was very gentle.
He was gentle and he was really beautiful.
He was. You can also try the Livestock Conservancy's Breeders Directory, or especially if you're looking for show quality Dorkings, there is a Dorking Breeders group on Facebook.
Okay, so if you have the Dorkings, we're going to put pictures this week of Holly's Dorkings on. Holly, get out there and take those pictures of those Dorkings so we can get them up on our social.
Wait, which one of us is the marketing manager?
I'm not at your house, though.
I need a lot more photos of the chickens. That's usually Pete's department, but he's kind of been out of commission. Anyway, we're going to get some pictures up of Holly and Dorkings this week on our social media. And, it's a chicken to love.
Are you ready to dive into the fascinating world of backyard ducks? Look no further than Metzer Farms, your premier destination for top quality waterfowl. Whether you're a seasoned breeder or just starting out, Metzer Farms has everything you need to elevate your flock to the next level. And if you're passionate about call ducks, you're in for a treat.
Metzer Farms hatches a stunning variety of call ducks, meticulously bred for their miniature size, beauty, and calm temperament. From snowy whites to vibrant colors, each duck is a masterpiece waiting to grace your backyard. Visit MetzerFarms.com today to browse their extensive selection and start your journey into the wonderful world of waterfowl. Metzer Farms, where passion meets perfection.
If you're looking for a chicken coop that's produced in a planet-friendly, sustainable way, try Nestera.
Each coop is made from highly durable, 100% recycled plastic that keeps the equivalent of up to 2,000 shampoo bottles out of a landfill.
Their clean, modern design will fit into any garden or run area and comes with an industry-beating 25-year warranty and a range of handy accessories.
Simple to put together, so quick and easy to clean, and most importantly, red mite resistant. Your chickens will love it.
Quick shipping from Nestera.us.
For a 5% discount, use the affiliate link in our show notes, on our website, and on Instagram. Link in bio. Check them out today. Roosty's proudly sponsors Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. They're back with an innovative new product. You're going to want to check this out.
It's an extra large set, a 14-pound feeder and 3-gallon water with steep anti-roost lids. They're made of super durable material. You can either stand them on legs or hang them on brackets on your coop or fence. They're easy to remove and clean too. Plus, they look awesome.
We personally use Roosties and we're huge fans. So if you're raising chicks or keeping chickens, check out the Roosty store on Amazon or follow the link in our show notes. Hey y'all! Guess what? There's finally a nutritious chicken feed that will have your flock begging for more. Naturewise Harvest Blend is the complete layer feed that's as irresistible as scratch. Tasty sunflower seeds, dried winter peas, cracked corn, and Aztec Marigold meal for golden yolks are mixed together with an aromatic blend of essential oils that will keep your girls laying. Naturewise Harvest Blend also has pre, pro, and postbiotics for digestion, plus plenty of protein for beautiful feathers. Learn more at NutrenaWorld.com. So, are we ready to move on to main topic? Yeah.
Hey, today we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Rebecca back to the table. If you're new to the show, Dr. Rebecca Gounaris is our chicken vet. She's a veterinarian at Pleasantville Hospital in Fallston, Maryland, and she does a lot of work with poultry. Dr. Rebecca, welcome back to the show.
Hey, ladies. Thanks for having me back. It's great to see you both.
You are the best poultry vet ever.
Thank you.
I'm a little biased, though.
I would love to think that myself, too.
I'm a little biased. You're my friend and my vet, and it's like, you're the best.
Your guys' chickens have also taught me a lot, so thank you.
It's an ongoing joke that we always bring you the absolute weirdest cases.
You guys do bring me some weird things.
So we're going to talk a little bit about one of those today because we're going to be talking about chickens, their livers, problems with their livers. Yeah, weird problems with their livers.
What we want to talk about, because seems to be a problem across the board with liver problems in chickens, what to look out for, what are some of the causes, when to bring you in, and I kind of, at the very end, I want to touch on the relationship also. It's a little off topic that you can have with your veterinarian because I think it's an important time to bring it in too.
So what's the most common liver dysfunction that you see with chickens?
I mean, in general, fortunately, I don't feel like we see a lot of liver problems that come through. I would say one of the most common findings that we see a lot on chickens, whether or not it's even the original reason why they might have been seen or they might have passed away is probably fatty liver syndrome. And basically, it's a very common condition that may or may not cause problems in a lot of our chicken patients. And fatty liver syndrome is essentially when the liver itself is taken up by more fat cells than its normal liver tissue. And that can cause liver dysfunction. But I think the scarier thing that it can cause is it actually makes the liver become more, I guess, fragile, more like solid in general. And what can happen is it can actually cause sudden death in chickens if they like do something as simple as like jumping too high from a roost or something. The liver can actually fracture and cause internal hemorrhage and sudden death. So I would say that's the most common thing that we know is out there in chickens. But of course, there's other cases in which the liver might be involved. It might not be the primary problem, but since it is such an important organ, if it is affected by a certain disease process, it can cause a lot of problems.
So the liver itself is an organ that is in the body to take toxins out of the body, of the bloodstream, all those things. So it's a filter, essentially, correct?
Yes, I think calling it like a filtering organ is the most appropriate way to label it. Its job and the overall physiological nature of the not only chickens, but really all animals. It is also an organ that it can be damaged by, like we might see liver enzyme elevations with almost any illness, just because the liver's job is to try to not only like filter out abnormalities in the blood, but we can see liver damage that can occur with disease. But the liver itself, as long as the tissue itself is normal, it is a very well healing organ too. That's why people can give, like you can hear about people giving liver lobe transplants and things like that, because the liver is a regenerative organ that can heal if it is damaged, unlike organs such as like the kidney or something like that. If they're injured, it's very hard for it to regenerate.
And where you have the problem is if the liver then gets scarred or lesioned and different things occur, and then it becomes a vessel that's not nearly taking the toxins out that it needs to, and they stay within the body. And then that also creates its own liver problem. Can it be a genetic problem that chickens are born with also?
Fatty liver syndrome or liver problems in general?
Just liver in general, or fatty liver, either or.
That's a great question. I'm sure there are certain breeds that are more prone to fatty liver that probably are heavier breeds. Like in parrots, we know that there's certain birds that are more prone to like high cholesterol and therefore also more just like fatty obesity issues in general, such as the Amazon or the African gray. So I would imagine also in chickens, in certain breeds that are heavier and more prone to obesity, we would see that more in those birds as well.
And that makes sense. So if a patient comes in and you suspect there's a liver problem, you would run blood and you can check their liver values that way.
I would say what's tough about the liver is it is a difficult organ to really evaluate. The blood is probably the only really non-invasive way we have to evaluate the liver in birds. In cats and dogs, if we see liver enzyme elevations on blood work, we can follow up with imaging such as ultrasound, but I don't really have anyone in the area that will do an ultrasound on a chicken and feel confident about it. So blood is almost the only thing we have. And you can see liver enzyme elevations on blood work, or you can also see bile acids are associated with the liver, and the liver is supposed to recycle bile acids. So if bile acids are building up, we can see that on blood work, and that can cause a lot of problems. An interesting fact about birds in general is that they actually don't, I believe it's that they don't create bilirubin, which if you think about liver disease in people, cats, dogs, you can see jaundice, which is when the skin turns a yellow color. Sometimes the blood, the serum will also be a yellow color. That actually does not happen in birds. So birds don't get jaundice. So I know some people will say, oh, my chicken skin looks yellow or something like that. Do they have a liver problem? That's actually not something that occurs in chickens, which I think is very interesting. That being said, as we've seen in a few birds that have come through, I do feel like liver can cause very bright green urates. And I have also seen in the blood, it has this very, very bright green look in the serum as well. So it's not bilirubin causing that like in other animals, but there is something causing that bright green color.
So let's talk a little bit about what that green serum actually is when you spin down the blood.
So like we talked about, birds don't produce bilirubin, which is the cause of that yellow jaundice color icterus in mammals. But they do have a pigment called biliverdin that is responsible for not only those bright green urates in like indigo and the bright green serum, but it's interestingly, it also is responsible for pigments that we kind of see in more normal things, such as blue eggs and also bruising. It's actually responsible for doing that.
Oh, because you can see those green bruises on their skin if they've had trauma.
Chickens get green bruises.
Will get much more like green bruises that you'll see that look really bad, but it's just that's usually the color of their bruises will be more green.
Interesting. Biliverdin. Okay. Biliverdin.
Okay, that's good to know.
So that does seem to be something that I can tell with a liver issue.
You can also tell if it's highly lipemic that there's a lot.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like tons of fat in the blood, basically. So lipemic. That was with one of my chickens, Eliza, a few months ago, and she had a liver problem, definitely. So I was going to say is the urates can also be an indicator a little bit of the liver problem, correct? Because it can change the color of the urates.
Yes. Like I said, I've seen in a few cases now that it looks like the urates will turn this very like bright green color. I mean, sometimes green poop is totally normal, but this is almost more of like a neon looking green. I saw it in a duck once that had lead poisoning. He had liver issues from the lead poisoning and he had this bright green urates. And then one of Holly's chickens recently we determined was a liver issue on blood work. But I think the reason we even thought to do blood work in the first place was because of those bright green urates.
And we do have some photos of them. We can actually put them somewhere. I don't know where we're not going to gross people out. But it's interesting, though, because the urates were lime green, like literally the color of lime skin. So I kind of had a heart attack. It took me a day to figure out who it was. It was Indigo, one of my young coachins. I thought she was a goner because that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen.
Liver stuff is so hard because it's either, I would say, it's either almost a death sentence if something is that wrong with the liver, or it could completely turn around if it's something like an infection, because the liver, like I said, is very regenerative. So if we can treat it, sometimes it can regenerate. But if the liver itself is damaged and diseased, then if we can't get that liver healthy again, we usually will not see a patient live with that.
I think we got really lucky.
Do you feel like she was like acting different than like other illness though? Like, I don't know.
She was a bit more withdrawn. So I noticed the poop first, but then once I figured out who it was, she was a little more withdrawn, not quite herself. And she wasn't like in there fighting for food. Right. So she would let the others really push her out. You put her on antibiotics and something we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, a supplement. And I want to say after the first 2 days on antibiotics, she improved and, she was starting to slowly eat more, but that color didn't go away. It's been like 2 full weeks, I think, that it took for the color to go back to normal.
Yeah. And that sounds about right because while the liver can heal, it can take several weeks for us to see it really complete that process. And usually if I'm rechecking blood work in an animal, I won't check that blood again for at least a month or two to see if those liver enzymes have gone back down.
Okay.
And in my case, Eliza, she had a liver problem. And unfortunately for her, we did palliative care because she was at a spot where it was just a downhill battle at that point. And sometimes we always say that if the poop is green, like a darker green, it could be because they're not eating enough food to mix in with, the toxins going through and everything else.
This was really weird. Indigo's case was really weird because you would have thought there was something synthetic in her poop because it was so bright and almost metallic looking. It was
weird looking. It was strange.
So because you have limited diagnosis, so there was clearly something wrong with her liver. When you spun the blood, you said even the serum was that crazy lime green color.
Yes, it was crazy that the serum itself. So, for people that don't know, blood is basically, there's two components. It's the red blood cells and the serum, which is more the like liquid portion. When you see whole blood, it just looks red, but we spin it down to have the red blood cells are heavier. So they'll sit at the bottom and the serum will be at the top. And it was this bright green color. It's supposed to be pretty much clear.
And that's weird because in people and small animals, like you said, because of the bilirubin, when you spin down a serum, it's bright yellow usually the other way, like if you have liver problems because of the bilirubin. So you don't have that, to when you spun it down. I wish you would have taken a picture of it because I would have loved to have seen that too.
Well, I'm sorry. I should have taken a picture of it. If I get another one, I definitely
Holly Ann, why didn't you take a picture?
I don't want to have another one. I have the poop pics and it is really the same. And I was in the exam room and I heard Dr. Rebecca in the back say, "That's the weirdest serum I've ever seen." And I thought, oh no. So one of the things you had me do, so we treated her with the antibiotics for a week, and that definitely made a difference. But what I think really helped her around the corner was you told me to get a supplement for her. It's called Hepato, and you can use it with dogs, cats, other animals. But the main ingredient in it is milk thistle. And there's a huge body of literature, especially in Europe, of the benefit of milk thistle on liver problems. So is that something that you just, it can't hurt, let's give it a try? Or would that help with fatty liver? Or who the heck knows if it's too far gone?
In general, if there is any sort of liver issue, period, I think milk thistle is worthwhile trying. I always tell people with supplements like that, I cannot promise that there's going to be a benefit, but yes, I would agree that I do not think that these in general are going to cause any harm. And we really don't have much else to try. So really, that's really, even in cats and dogs, sometimes all we have are liver supplements to see if we can help support the liver and get it back to its normal state.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about that product in our retail therapy and the importance of actually getting a product that's scientifically tested and made to be the proper amount for the chicken so that you're not playing a guessing game, just going out and buying milk thistle. That might not do anything. So, having the right tools in the toolbox, the supplement, the meds, all these things, and going to the vet, these are so important to help problems.
It's super easy to give too. I mean, it's a capsule. You open the beak, you pop it in. It's super easy to give. So it's not like
it comes in liquid form too. If anyone is nervous about giving a pill, I think you have to give obviously probably more of the liquid. I think a capsule is really easy to do. And it's a supplement that you guys will talk about it. It's an over-the-counter supplement. I did come across it because our compounding pharmacy that we use for cats and dogs, and I use it for birds too, they're actually the ones that recommended it. So I would say with the supplement industry, unfortunately, not really being very regulated, it can be hard to know which products you should be purchasing. And this one was backed by our compounding pharmacy. So that's why I feel comfortable recommending it.
It's great. It's awesome. I'm extremely thankful you did. So let's talk a little bit about liver health. So, and I know there's some debate about this, but in general, you're feeding your chickens their ration that's, formulated, has everything they need. And most of us give some extra treats or we have birds free ranging. What are best practices just for trying to keep your poultry's liver healthy?
In general, I mean, traditionally, you will see it recommended that you should not feed like any extra foods other than their commercially developed food. You should only feed that because it's balanced with all the nutrients they need and you're not overdoing it on every one of those. That being said, I mean, in general, I think that is probably unrealistic for most people. I mean, myself too, I definitely don't feed them just that. I love to get my chickens, my vegetable cooking scraps and everything like that. I'd say one thing that I have talked to my friend that is a commercial poultry vet is she's recommended, which is probably like contraindicated. It's not contraindicated, but I feel like most people reach for high protein snacks and high protein foods because they think, more protein is always better. And actually very high protein food actually can cause fatty liver. So if anything, she actually recommended looking for more snacks higher in carbohydrates.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Feeding too much protein doesn't always translate to the body's going to use that as protein. Sometimes it will break it down and actually turn it into fats instead. So again, it's about, I think, keeping a balanced diet versus feeding too much of one thing, like too many mealworms high in protein. Mix it up. And again, I think in general, I feel comfortable feeding vegetables and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think it's ever bad to feed veggies and stuff, but I would watch it with the high calorie, high protein snacks, such as all the dried insects, mix it in with maybe a little bit of like cracked corn and grains and things like that, just to balance it out a little bit better.
I mean, that's what we do. Some scratch, and we'll throw some fresh corn and peas in there. We'll throw a handful of grubs and then some oats. And really, most of what they're getting is carbohydrate.
I really like dried oats thrown in.
Oh, yeah.
Too,
yeah, exactly. It's easy stuff. I think it's more that I see it all over the place. People think that, especially when they're molting, that they just need all the protein you can possibly feed them. And while yes, of course, protein is an important nutrient, you should be giving some of it. I think just keeping a balance is the most important part to trying to help make sure that they don't get something like fatty liver.
I mean, arguably, if you have birds that are molting and you switch to something like Feather Fixer that has 2% more protein, that should be adequate to what they need.
It can be as simple as just switching the food rather than you trying to feed yourself.
Yeah, that's good advice.
I wanted to kind of switch topics just for a minute at the very end. We only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to talk to you, Dr. Rebecca, about building relationships with your clients and how it's important to you. And it's important that people do this so that they feel comfortable going to the veterinarian, because we see so many times people are afraid to take their chickens to the vets. It's crazy.
Yes, and it is a shame because we've said it before, but I feel like people put too much pressure on themselves to diagnose their own chicken, when really I think a lot of this stuff is hard to diagnose even for sometimes a chicken vet. It's hard to diagnose without the proper tools or even just the experience and knowledge of things that they've seen before. So to have someone that doesn't have any veterinary experience and expect them to diagnose these things is just crazy to me.
I feel like when I was in an animal hospital, I really respected people who came in with their own boundary set and were able to say it. So I wanted to put out there that I don't want people to be afraid or intimidated to walk into an animal hospital and say, my animal's sick, boom, 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 this is the problem. But like financially, I have $100. What can I do? How can you help me? And then have a conversation. I feel like I have respect for someone at that point versus walking out and saying somebody did nothing for me, they were too expensive. And I was just going to ask your opinion on it.
No, I mean, I think that definitely goes both ways. I think in general with veterinary medicine, we run into budget problems all the time. It's not just for chickens, it's for cats and dogs too. And I do think it is incredibly important, not only on the client side, but on the veterinarian side, to acknowledge if there is a budget that we need to stay within. Basically, our job is to present, these are the things that you would recommend and maybe the gold standard, but it's important for us to also offer maybe some like less ideal options, but options that don't end in just turning the patient away or euthanizing the patient. So I think it is important on both sides, but I think if a client is more upfront that they have a budget issue, that helps us to know, just to start thinking about what we can do differently, because it is always awkward to talk about. And I never want to assume what someone can afford. So it's just important to be transparent about your expectations on what you want to spend. I do hate hearing that people have a bad experience because they went to a vet and they were charged all this money for their chicken and they'll never go back. And I think if we put forth what they're willing to spend in the first place, maybe it wouldn't have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
I want to say amen. Thank you. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm like almost jumping out of my seat. Like, yes, say it, Dr. Rebecca. It's because there's so many people that go and they're like, oh my gosh, they charged me. But did you walk in? And some people are intimidated. They don't want to say it. I don't want people to be that way. I want them to walk in and feel like they're communicating and have a partnership and listen to you and then say, well, okay, maybe what's a different option? This is what I have, and not be intimidated to say that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I generally have people telling me that if they have that concern. And in general, I would say I almost do my best to I never try to avoid diagnostics. I more try to figure out what I can first with a really good physical exam before I just jump to testing. But I think what's important for people to understand too, if people are upset that they feel like there's not enough vets out there that know enough about chickens. I mean, unfortunately, some vets, they need to see more and more chickens to get comfortable with them too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think I can diagnose most of my patients almost on a really good, thorough exam and history, but that's because I've also been doing this for a long time and I know what to ask, what to look for. Owning my own chickens helps, I think, tremendously.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of vets out there that also own chickens and they are eager to learn more. And sometimes the only way that people can learn more is if they get the opportunity to work on some patients and see what happens. Unfortunately, I think chickens are very forgiving patients. They are not fragile like parrots are that will sometimes die during like a nail trim, but they in general are very hardy and are very great patients to work with because a lot of times we can find some sort of outcome, even if it or some kind of treatment plan, even if it's not the gold standard, and a chicken can do well with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Just don't be afraid to talk to your vet. Ask, talk about the finances, whatever you have to do.
Yeah, I think it's so important to go in there and have a partnership and be able to talk and communicate back and forth that way. Okay, so we want to. That was Ezra. We want to say he has been awesome here for this interview.
Pretty good, I have to say.
He's been really good. So, Dr. Rebecca,
what do chickens say?
There we go.
Bark, bark, bark.
What's a more perfect way to end the interview? But we thank you again. And as you know, we always want to bring the information to the table that you have because we find it invaluable. And we'll get this comment a lot that we're so lucky to have you. And we know how lucky we are to have you. 1,000,000%. We appreciate you. And we wish there were 1,000,000 Dr. Rebeccas out there for everybody else.
Thank you. No, I do feel very good that I'm able to serve that purpose in the community here is being able to see people's chickens. And I do hope it's something we see in more areas of the country so that people have an option and don't have to drive. Like as much as I'm very flattered, I've had some people drive 2-4 hours to see me. I wish that they had other options that were closer.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we tell everybody, like, even if you have to drive an hour, then it's worth it, right? It's worth it, Yeah.
And so we need more people to bring you weird cases. We can't be the only ones who are bringing you bizarre things.
No, I do see some other ones, but you guys consistently, I feel like bringing things.
Well, thank you again. And we'll definitely have you back again soon to talk about something else. We hope this helps somebody out there. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
We just want to thank Dr. Rebecca one more time. As always, having a fantastic chat with her with tons of information. We appreciate her taking the time to talk to all of you. Like, we love having her as our vet, but we love even more being able to share her with you.
And it's like, we love having her as our vet, our friend, and to come on the show to help people learn. I mean, it's just amazing. I know. She's just a really good friend. And thank you, Dr. Rebecca, again.
Our friends at Good Eggs solve the age-old question of how should I wash my eggs?
They're chicken people just like us who created the original silicone egg scrubber.
Both Chrissy and I use their brush and natural enzyme wash every time.
It's a total game changer.
It makes cleaning eggs so much faster and easier. Plus, they have a lifetime guarantee.
Good Egg is a small family business right here in the U.S., and they donate 10% of all profit directly to folks affected by cancer.
Go check them out at goodeggstuff.co.
That's goodeggstuff.co. Tell them Chrisie&Holly sent you. Okay, so let's move on to
Cracking the eggs.
Cracking those eggs. Now, this week we're doing
eggs a la Goldenrod. And I know that at the end of last week's episode, I said we were going to do Marigold eggs. That's because my old brain forgot. It was eggs a la Goldenrod, not Marigold. Yellow flour.
Yeah. Oh, so you gave the real deal.
I gave the wrong name entirely. I said eggs Marigold. And I have to make up something that's eggs Marigold.
That's what we do over here.
Yes, we make up things. So eggs a la Goldenrod. This is actually an old recipe. It was first published in Fannie Farmer's Boston Cooking School cookbook in the late 1890s. But really, it could have easily been around longer than that. This is really quick to make, and it tastes great. It very easily converts to gluten and dairy-free. Now, the Goldenrod part, that's supposed to come from the way that the crumbled yolk looks. It's supposed to look like lots of little tiny goldenrod flowers.
Right.
Essentially, this is glorified creamed eggs and bechamel sauce.
Right.
Pretty much it. This recipe makes 2 generous servings for adults. You could probably do 3 or even 4 little kids with it. But it is very easy to double or triple and make larger amounts. It's simple.
Exactly. So let's go through the ingredients that we have. 4 large hard-boiled eggs. You're definitely going to want to peel them. Don't try to not peel
Get a
them.
little texture in there. Need a little calcium shot.
Get a little egg potato chips in there.
Ugh.
Peeled, chopped, and 2 of the yolks set aside. 2 tablespoons of butter or that dairy-free butter. 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour or gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. 2 cups of milk or creamy plant milk. Holly uses the oat milk because it seems to be the creamiest.
It is.
Salt and white pepper to taste. If you have black pepper, it's okay. Holly likes the white pepper.
Yeah, it's a more subtle heat. I don't like the coarseness of black pepper. Blech.
But you can get like coarse or fine black pepper too. Sometimes you can get it like
it's
finer.
the coarse taste that I object to.
Oh.
But you know what you can also get? If you have like the big grinders, you can get like a tricolor peppercorn mix.
Yeah, you can get all different kinds of stuff. You can get really fancy and not really have to be, it's not hard, it's just fancy.
Right.
Toasted bread for the serving of these because you're going to want some bread to go with them.
And I just did it on like toast slices, but some people cut up the bread, which might be good if you're serving it to kids.
And you could even do biscuits and cut up biscuits, which
you
would
could
be
absolutely
good too.
do biscuits. Yeah, yeah. You're going to melt the butter in a saucepan over medium heat and stir in the flour until smooth. So you're making a roux. Gradually mix in that milk so that no lumps form and stir constantly until the mixture comes to a boil. That is super quick and easy. You're going to stir in the white pepper, whatever pepper, the salt, and the chopped eggs, and stir them around because you don't want anything to stick until the eggs are heated through, just a couple of minutes. Serve this over your toast. Then you're going to take those reserved egg yolks and you're going to crumble egg yolk over the top of each serving. If you want the yolk to be really fine, you can press it through a sieve. I am lazy and did not feel like washing a sieve, so I just crumbled it with my fingers.
You know what you could do too, if you wanted to get really fancy, is salt those egg yolks first, then put that on top.
I thought about that too, and then you could grate them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But you'd be using different egg yolks. They would have to have been salted in advance.
It would be like, exactly, like if you have salted egg yolks and then you're going to grate them over versus just the regular egg yolks. So make it a little fancier.
It would make it a little fancier. And I love the taste of the salted egg yolks. If you do not know what the salted egg yolks are, on our website under articles, there is a whole article about how to make them.
Yeah, there is definitely. So
that's it.
Try it. You might like it. Let us know what you think. Send us some pictures. We want to see those egg yolks.
Goldenrod eggs, not marigold eggs.
We want to see those marigold eggs, okay? So let's move on to retail therapy. Retail therapy. Yeah. Okay, so this week's retail therapy is...
This is a liver supplement called Hepato.
And it's going to go along with our talk with Dr. Rebecca this week and the stuff that Holly Ann's been going through with Indigo, her chicken who's been sick. And we thought this was a really good retail therapy because someone who's having problems and doesn't know about this can be a saver.
Now, this is a supplement for liver health. It is off-label use for poultry, meaning it's approved in use for dog and cats.
For small animals. So and this is one that Dr. Rebecca really believes in. And that means a lot to us because we're not going to recommend something to you that's not worth even trying. Well, but this is.
And this is a supplement and it relies on a natural herb. We strongly support using herbs in conjunction with pharmaceuticals, but it needs to be formulated properly so you don't make things worse.
And this is formulated by like a veterinarian
pharmaceutical company.
Yes.
And so the active ingredient is milk thistle extract, which is well known for helping liver problems. There's 100 milligrams in each capsule here. I believe you can get this as a liquid as well if you're not comfortable giving pills, but I love to just open a beak and pop a pill in there and done.
Exactly. I think it's easier sometimes all the time pilling than liquid.
Right. So like we said with Dr. Rebecca, I think that she probably had some sort of an infection and the antibiotics did help with that. But I firmly believe that it was this milk thistle that helped her get around the corner.
So if you're thinking that your chickens are experiencing some liver problems by, the way their poop looks or the way they're acting, this is something you can try. Holly Ann, you'll have the link up to it on Amazon.
Yeah, the link will be on the show notes. I did get it on Amazon because we wanted it fast.
Right. So you can get it over there, or you can look it up and see where else you can find it. But it's great. It's another alternative that we did not know about before that now we do. So we're putting it out there so that you guys will know about it also. It's well worth it.
1 capsule a day. So it's a fantastic thing to add to your toolkit.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so should we tell everybody what we're going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we are spotlighting a little known bird, but that you can get here in the US. They're very interesting and very pretty. They're the Norwegian Yerhan.
Yes, they are.
Dr. Yuko Sato is joining us, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the science of avian flu.
It's what everybody wants to know and needs to know.
It's going to be scientific stuff, but very practical. And Dr. Yuko is fantastic. Cracking the eggs, Irish soda bread.
Because it's March. It's going to be March.
Celebrate some of my people. And retail therapy. I don't think we picked anything. Retail therapy is a surprise. It's a surprise.
Yay!
You'll see.
Okay.
Or maybe we'll be debuting a little something different in its place.
So what should we tell everybody to do until next week?
Hug your chickens, ducks, and geese.
Every day, and kiss them too. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more of us, please follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. If you'd like to help us grow the podcast, please leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. Thanks for listening.